It's Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. We're live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State, also live on Facebook and on YouTube. We're having the crucial conversations that Erie needs, and for well over 20 years, the man at the helm of the ship of Visit Erie, the Erie County Convention Tourism and Convention Bureau. That's not their official name, but that's what their designation. Tourist destination committee or
destination
agency.
Destination marketing.
Destination marketing organization. That's the official. It's John Oliver. He's back. Welcome. Good to see you.
It's great to be back.
Yeah, all the names have changed since you got into this business, haven't they?
Yeah, it's well, you know what? When I first got in the business of this destination, it was just it was Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Yes,
and our organizations over time have become so much more, in terms of marketing an entire destination, and not just focusing on bringing visitors, which is key, but also how do you tie the community into that? How do you make the community aware, and how do we increase the economic impact? It's not just visitors coming here, but how do we get them to spend more money, spend more time, which in turn provides a lot more economic impact positively for our community.
Let's start from the beginning, because again, you announced that you're retiring from Visit Erie now. How many years have you been there?
It will be, the end of the year will be just about 24 years. 24
years. Yes. I remember when you came, because I was at the other radio station. I was at WCTL, and again, you had some great ideas, and you were like, hey, if you have any inkling or any connections to professional organizations that may want to come to Erie, send them my way. We have this whole infrastructure that's ready to go. And so whether it was a faith-based event, like you've been involved in several, or like a radio or broadcast event, you guys were ready to go to accommodate that.
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at events and conventions and business. It's like 40 or 45% of the business that's coming here is because someone locally has said, hey, I'd like to have my group come here. And, they've come to us, and we've said, that's great, that's all you need to do. Give us the information, and we'll go out and handle all of that.
Wow.
And it's continued. It's the locals that have stepped up in terms of convention business and have helped us make that a success.
How does somebody start, though? Tell us a little bit about your journey. Did you start, as a concierge at a hotel, or, as a sous chef or whatever?
No, nothing that good. I started out, born and raised in Niagara Falls. So I started out working for the Maid of the Mist, working in their souvenir stores. And from there, then went to work on the boats. And actually, my final 2 years in college, I was working for them full time.
Well, I mean, everybody outside of Niagara Falls thinks that everybody who lives in Niagara Falls is somehow involved in the tourism business, because that's what they're known for, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, Niagara Falls, but certainly for years it was a electrochemical manufacturing was really what drove the economy.
Really?
You had companies like Carborundum, Union Carbide, Hooker Chemical. They all had major operations. And so, tourism was kind of always, taken for granted, and thought, it was the golden 90 days. They came Memorial Day to Labor Day, and after that there was nobody. And as these companies and corporations moved south or went out of business, tourism is what remained, because you can't take the falls and go to the Southwest.
No.
No. I mean, that's true, really, of, we can't take, nobody can come in and take the peninsula and say, I'm moving that to North Carolina. It's here. And that's why, having the opportunity to look at tourism as an industry, and why you want to make that grow and flourish, is because it can't leave.
Wow. That's an important point. And let's be clear here that nobody ever closed a factory so that they could build a hotel. It never has happened.
Well, yeah, I mean, not initially. Oftentimes hotels go up where closed factories were.
Right, that's true.
As we've seen
the GAF, right?
GAF, for example.
But it wasn't a quid pro quo. I mean, It was GAF was there as long as they wanted to be,
But oftentimes we had hotels that were there because of the business that people coming in, selling products to GAF to all of the other industries.
Right.
So that kind of corporate market really helped fuel a lot of the hotels.
Yeah, I always was fascinated do you remember when Jack Welch brought the shareholders convention for GE to Erie, Pennsylvania? A big deal. What was it? Maybe early 2000s or something like that.
Yes.
And they all stayed at the one hotel up by the mall. They must have had points or a corporate account or something at the not State Bridge.
Courtyard.
I
think that was the Marriott Courtyard.
Maybe, yeah. And it's like that's where they had their corporate accounts, right?
Right. Well, back then, I mean, other than the Avalon, we really had no hotels downtown.
That's true.
None on the bayfront. The first hotel down there, the Sheraton, was, I think, 2008, 2007 that it opened up.
Sure.
So there's certainly been a growth.
Well, yeah, and again, you've kind of seen that all, haven't you? I mean, you kind of saw the interstates where there was kind of like a land, not a land auction, but there was a lot of interest in plots of land around the Peach Street exit and the 97 exit because the casino came online in the late 2000s. And, you saw the build out of Upper Peach.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's interesting. Nick Scott talks about his first hotel that he built was the Days Inn. And it was on, exit for 97, right? Mm-hmm. And he said, I missed it by one exit. But he made up for lost time by getting over to Upper Peach and acquiring and developing there. So, I mean, that's certainly a Splash Lagoon. It was something else that came along in the, mid, I think 2003 they started. So it was somewhere along there. So, there's been a lot, the big box developments, too, of retail.
Did you work for the Niagara Falls Convention Bureau and all that, Visitors Bureau?
When it was formed in 1976, I went to work for them in 1977. They were really just kind of getting underway and was looking for somebody to, oversee their tourism department, group tours, international tourism. And so I had the opportunity to go from the Maid of the Mist that I was working at over to that. And I was with them total of about 12 years.
Key assets, of course, the falls being one. But wasn't there like an aquarium there?
There was an aquarium. Cave of the Winds was there. We had a brand new convention center that opened in 1974. That was providing a whole lot of opportunity and business for the community.
Yeah.
And so we had Old Fort Niagara, you had the Power Authority. So, there were a number of attractions that we had. And at that time, I thought we were competitive up there with Niagara Falls, Canada.
And that was the issue of getting people to use the New York side instead of just kind of always going to the kind of it's the place of Clifton Hill and all that stuff.
It was interesting to see because Niagara Falls, New York, as I said, had a lot of industrial. So did Niagara Falls, Ontario, and they lost that too. But they early on said we got to invest in tourism.
Wow!
And so the government and they made a concerted effort to develop their tourism product and industry on the Canadian side. The U.S. side still kept thinking that they were going to be able to find new manufacturers to come in, which didn't occur. And so they've been in a position now of still trying to catch up.
I mean, they actually built two towers, right? Didn't they build the Skylon and the Panasonic Tower too over there.
And there were three towers.
There were
over
three
there.
towers.
Yes, they had three towers there: the Skylon and Panasonic, which was Seagram's. And interestingly enough, if you look at that tower, it looks like a shot glass.
Oh gosh. Okay. What was the third one?
Oh, it's the one where the casino's attached to.
Oh,
now.
okay. Yeah.
What they called that one.
Right. Right. We're talking to John Oliver here, and kind of the journey. So you're working for the Niagara Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau, and then what was it? Something in the trades that Erie had an opening, or
Well, I worked for the Niagara Falls. I left there and went over to Canada.
You did?
Yeah, I worked there for a couple of years for a resort right at the falls.
Yeah.
And then from there, I went to the Buffalo Convention and Visitors Bureau. I was there for 8 years.
Wow.
Came back to Niagara Falls and was director of sales and marketing at the convention center. And when the governor sold the convention center, since the state owned it, to the Senecas for $1, I realized the Senecas didn't buy it to continue running as a convention center.
Right.
And so the opportunity came up that Erie was looking to basically form an independent organization, and that I applied for it, and much to my joy, I was selected to come in and to start the organization.
What would become Visit Erie was like an arm of the chamber, right?
It was a division of the chamber for 40 years.
Yeah.
And they just, with the advent of a hotel tax and some money to promote, the feeling was that we should separate the tourism aspect from the Chamber of Commerce attracting businesses, etc., and allow us.
So you're kind of the founding author of this new tourism.
I mean, it was set up. There was somebody that was kind of overseeing it till they were able to find someone. But when I came in, there were 3 employees.
Did you feel like you had like a blank slate, like a canvas to paint on?
Well, yes, and when I came down in the interview process, I came down a week before December, went out to the peninsula, never been, and was blown away in December, standing on a beach with raining, thinking, "Oh my gosh, how has this existed?" And I never knew about it, and I'm in tourism, and I've driven by thousands of times, along 90. So I was excited, thinking, if I've not heard about it, what a great opportunity to tell everybody what we have here. And, then meeting people like Casey Wells and the visionary he was, and how he laid out so well what he wanted to do with the convention center and the hotel. And I mean, it just was a golden opportunity.
Yeah, amazing timing to have John Oliver here come to our community. We're going to keep going down memory lane here. We are going to get to what our current reality is and what the future might look like here, but we're going to take a break first. It's Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show, 420. It's a Thursday conversation with John Oliver here on the Joel Natale Show. He is the executive director, CEO of the Visit Erie, and we're kind of going through his story here. So when you got here, you're creating the template for how, and using that wealth of experience because you worked in Niagara Falls, both in New York and Ontario. You worked for Buffalo. And already a lot of things were in the works, right? The convention center, was that about to be built, or?
Well,
I'm trying to think of the timing of that. Yeah.
At that point, the convention center was going to be located at a different location.
Okay, right.
And then it shifted over to the GAF site at the foot of Sassafras. So yeah, I was there for that, whole idea and the shift and, the need for the hotel. And it was exciting. I mean, we and still have probably one of the most beautiful convention centers.
It is amazing, that design and that placement. I mean, I like the Lawrence Center in Pittsburgh, which is along the river, but man, this is on the bay. When you have an event, or when you have folks coming to the Sheraton or coming to the Marriott or the Hampton, there's boats right outside your window and things.
Yeah, I mean, the feeling is that you're in Santa Monica or some other location when you walk out, and again, it's what people don't expect. I've always said that I've never had a client, a friend, or family member that's come to Erie that hasn't left with an entirely different and better impression of what they thought they were going to see.
Right.
That's you hear that all the time. They come down 79 and they make that turn, and all of a sudden there's the bay and the marinas and everything. So, it's been fun, and it's been a chore and a battle to make people aware that Erie is not a Rust Belt city, and that it's a vibrant city, and it's where people can enjoy the good life. Yeah.
Do you feel like the addition of the Bicentennial Tower just a few years before you came on, it was like that was a project in 1995 for our bicentennial? And it feels like to me that was a catalytic event to say we are reclaiming the bayfront.
I agree. I mean, I think it opened up the bayfront. I wasn't here prior to that, where the bayfront was someplace nobody wanted to go to. And I also think that, the development of the public library down there, because that in particular, when that opened up, residents were coming down to the bayfront. They were in the library. They were seeing that. I think that those things were monumental decisions. And I know that there was a lot of talk and debate both for the library and for the convention center, in terms of approval. And I think that, those that went out and stood up and said, yes, we need to do this, they were correct.
Talk about, like, the quality of hotel stock. I don't know if that's how you describe it, but when you think about it, when you have the addition of the a full-blown Sheraton, a full-blown Marriott, and now they've just announced an AC Marriott that's going to come online, that the Scots are building, their most luxurious hotel in their history. And I mean, and then what they've been able to accomplish to the south of town, at Peach and 90, all that stuff is upgraded, and it just has caused some of the really old, unattended to hospitalities to kind of either improve or kind of get out of the business.
Yeah, we have a great selection to fit visitors' budgets. We have the downtown bayfront properties, and you're right, the Sheraton, full service, the Courtyard is basically full service.
Yeah.
The Hampton, with Oliver's restaurant up on the top. So we've got some really good quality properties, upscale. But we also have, as you get out a little bit out of town or more up into Upper Peach, and that we have properties that are that fit the economy that we need, so that we're able to promote not just to one particular type of client, but to everyone. And that's the same thing when we have conventions and that. They have the ability to offer accommodations that suit the need for their membership.
Any idea how many rooms when you came here that we had back in the mid 2000s?
I think we had probably 2,800 maybe.
And we're at 4,500?
About 4,500 right now.
Wow. I mean, it's just like an industry that just is boomed in 20
Well, and
decades.
as we saw the hotels grow, it was because our product grew too. And that's important. I mean, Splash Lagoon, Erie Sports Center, and that facility up there, the casino, there's product, there's things to do, wine country.
Right.
So all of that, allowed the need for hotels, and we were able to absorb it. They didn't come all at once. So, we were able to absorb the additional rooms in terms of being able not to be losing occupancy or seeing our existing properties have to cut rates because of the competition. It seemed to really flow well.
Yeah, that really is something that as new ones came online, you didn't have to cut your prices. And we'd be remiss to not mention how Waldemere and all the millions that they've invested.
Yes.
When you think about, you put Waldemere and the beach and Splash together, you got a 4 or 5 day weekend or a week going on there.
Absolutely. And things like across the street from this studio, Ascend.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of things for people to do.
We're talking to John Oliver here. He's with us. He is what end of the year you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. They've started some kind of a national search. The board.
They've begun a search. Yes.
Okay. All righty. And so we're going to see who is going to be taking the mantle from the fellow that has been kind of navigating Erie through its, you could say, over $1 billion, tourism renaissance. I mean, it's unreal.
I'd be remiss though if
hold that thought. We'll do all of our kudos and plaudits after the news. How's that? All right, John Oliver with us here in Talk Erie. John Oliver is the CEO of Visit Erie. He's our guest here on the Joel Natale Show, live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 434. And John, you were about to mention folks that have kind of been a part of your team along the way.
Right.
You know?
I'd be remiss if not acknowledging, first the staff at Visit Erie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I honestly believe they're phenomenal. We've had some staff that have been there over 20 years. And, it's one thing to have ideas and thoughts, but to have a staff that says, okay, we can implement those ideas and go out and do it, or even come back and say, I liked your idea, but I think we have a better one. And they usually do. Yeah. And, the developers here, the people that have gotten involved and committed, the Scott family, the whole Erie events, they've invested time and money, and they're providing the product. Paul Nelson, what a visionary he was on what he saw that park. And now to turn around and see where Steve Gorman and Paul's grandson Brian, they're taking it to the next level.
Talking about Waldemere Park and
Waterworld. So they're the ones that I think really, they've given me and provided Visit Erie with what we need to go out and say Erie's a great place.
Yeah, it's not like you have to conjure things out of blue sky. You have actual assets that people want to use. And think about, the investment that the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has made, with major, upgrades at Presque Isle State Park.
Right. I mean,
which is the gem,
Exactly. They're investing. They recognize the needs, and they've been there. I mean, the Tom Ridge Environmental Center was funded. The Convention Center had huge amount of funding that came in from the state. So all of that is really provided the product that has allowed us to go out and we've tried to strive to find more funds to tell more people about what we have. And I think that's kind of been our niche, is that we're out there in the market, informing visitors and letting them see all that we have.
So you always had a good story to tell. You always had assets to tell it, to talk about. But you didn't really have the funding to make, to really go after, let's say, markets like Pittsburgh and Columbus and Johnstown and so on, until something happened. Something happened with the formula. Can you talk about all that and when that happened?
Yeah, I mean, initially in 2001, there was a 5% hotel tax that was put into place,
and that's for visitors to pay.
Anyone staying in a hotel, they pay that tax. So it's not local taxpayer dollars that are coming in to fund it. Of that 5%, initially, they put 4 of the 5 went to Erie events for the convention center, the Warner, the arena, the ballpark, what they had. And they said, well, 1% will go to promote. Well, at the time, 1% seemed like a lot of money when they had no money to promote prior to that. But I think quickly felt, and we got in here, that we had such a great story and we needed to tell more people about it. And while the hotel tax grew as more people came here and stayed, and we saw hotel occupancy going up, it didn't grow fast enough. And so back in, it would have been 2011, we started the process to, all right, let's try to increase the hotel tax from 5 to 7%. We were able to do that as an individual county, because we had home rule legislation we were able to do. So we were able to, in talking to the hotels, convince them that, hey, raising the hotel tax, it's not going to make us uncompetitive, and it's going to provide us money. And we were able to get legislation with it passed, enabling at the state, with the funds dedicated for Visit Erie. And then the county enacted an ordinance in 2013. We started to then get 3 of the 7%. And that immediately gave us about, another $1 million And allowed us now to start to do television ads and, really start to make an impact, and have some consistency in those markets.
What are the primary markets that you usually go after?
Well, our primary ones that provide us the most visitors are Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Cleveland. But what we've really started to do in the last few years is we're looking now at as far away as Harrisburg, State College, Johnstown, Altoona. We're into Wheeling, West Virginia, that area, Columbus. So we've Rochester. So we've expanded out to bring more people and make them aware of what we have available.
You most recently did a total strategic branding exercise and rebranded Visit Erie. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that started, and actually it started prior to that when we started to invest in a research company so that we could get data. We wanted to make sure that who we were marketing to made sense and what kind of, response were we getting, what was the impact. And we realized that, we needed to rebrand. It had been 10, 15 years since we had done it, and we felt that the image that our brand was putting out was we were a summertime destination. Our logo had the waves and seagulls, and we really said we're more than summer now, and we really want to become known as a four-season destination. And fall and spring. So we went through a rebranding effort. That was 18 months. Incredible amount of research done, surveying. We surveyed past visitors, people that had not come here. What do they want to do when they travel? What do they think when they hear Erie? I mean, all of that information. From that, our marketing agency that we have came back with like 20 different concepts. And we narrowed it down to 2, and then they took that back out again and did further surveying. And from that, we came up with, Visit Erie, Good Life, Great Lake. And it really kind of fits the market we're going after. It's interesting. When I first started, the market we were going after would have been baby boomers. Now, millennials and Gen Z, they've grown up. They have families, they have jobs, they're traveling, but what they want to do when they travel is a whole lot different than what people used to want to do. More outdoor activities, more, experiences that they want, not just viewing, they want to experience things. And so we felt that this brand really, because we've heard this from visitors saying, wow, so laid back here. It's nice. The traffic is easy.
Yeah.
Everything is, it's a good life. And we think that this brand, Good Life, really pertains to a lot, whether it's economic development, whether it's hospitals doing recruiting of docs or universities recruiting professors. It's the quality of life that we have here. It's really kind of a good life. And of course, our iconic attraction is the Great Lake.
It's interesting that really that brand for Visit Erie is greater than the weekend visit or the week-long visit. It is about, this is kind of an Erie brand. You've almost taken it on your shoulders to kind of say, hey, this is a way that we should be thinking about ourselves.
Well, it's interesting when we started the whole process and talking to the marketing company and that, I and staff had said, look, the brand has to be tourism first. We have to fit that. That's what we do. However, having a brand that could be possibly utilized by other entities, other sectors in this community would be great if we could do that. And, I kept saying to them, I love New York. It was designed as a tourism brand, but you can't, everywhere you go up there, you have manufacturers that are stamping the crates that they're shipping products out with an I Heart New York.
Right.
And, we've had good feedback, from the economic development agencies have said, yeah, this is something that we, it's who we are. And it certainly is something that we're hoping will be embraced by more than just our tourism.
What were some of the really cool moments? And I'll fill in number one for you. You have to admit the eclipse has to be one of the highlights of your 24 years.
In terms of an Erie event, the eclipse, without a doubt. I mean, it was a once in a lifetime, literally, event. But personally, it has to be the John Oliver.
And that was just this summer.
Yeah. I mean,
my gosh.
That to me personally was like, wow. I mean, this was somebody I've watched for 10 years on TV, and never in my wildest dreams would I ever imagine that he would show up in Erie and have the impact that he has had, with Erie.
I mean, he turned the Erie Seawolves into a merchandising company for weeks upon end.
They're still filling.
Are they still filling orders?
And I was at a conference in Phoenix, and I had people come up to me and say, "Oh my gosh, I saw you on the John Oliver show," and it was amazing.
Do we have any idea how many visitors came for that weekend? Everybody I talked to online, because I was covering it for the radio station, they weren't from Erie. There'd be somebody from 5 hours away who bought tickets third party. I mean, they spent a fortune.
Unfortunately, we really don't have the ability to track like a number of how many people.
Yeah.
But we do know that, the play that we received and we were in Los Angeles papers, Kansas City paper. I mean, a lot of places that have minor league teams, including Buffalo, that applied to be rebranded by John Oliver and weren't picked, ran stories about what took place. So
I guess up in the St. Paul Saints or something were especially incensed that we got the Moon Mammoth.
Yeah. So the opportunity to meet him and chat with him,
that's so cool.
For me, is probably one of the coolest highlights. Another highlight of mine that didn't take place in Erie years ago, I had the opportunity to host a group of bishops from Poland with the Cardinal in Niagara Falls, and sat and drank wine with the Cardinal, who a short time after that became the Pope.
Oh, my word.
He became John Paul.
John Paul. You actually met John Paul.
Well, I actually met John Paul and sat and had a bottle of wine with him over lunch.
That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. What do we need? If John Oliver had his magic wand, is there an asset that you think would fill out the portfolio for Erie's tourism industry?
I don't know that there is a particular asset that we're.
People talk about an aquarium. People talk about an old battleship or all those things, right?
I'm realistic to recognize that there's very few aquariums in this country that make money,
that break even.
But if we could, you can add another ship if it's economically feasible. But I mean, I think, again, it comes down to just, having the ability to tell more people on a more consistent basis of what we have here in Erie. If I could wave a magic wand, we'd have full-size aircraft going to Chicago and Dallas and maybe New York.
So the transportation piece.
That piece would open up the convention business for us. It would be incredible. The increase we'd see in conventions, national groups that we could bring. So my magic wand would be, if we could have, and I think that's going to occur at some point. We're going to see additional airline service here.
Yeah.
But that would be the one thing if I could do that.
When you see like what's happening on State Street now that we, Serafini's opening up and it's these small shops and you think about the Gateway out in Mill Creek. Isn't that part of kind of the evolution of what could be happening with Harbor Place with the Scots on the bay? Like places to shop and spend money. And,
again, that's what people are looking for. That kind of, the Wander State Street here.
Yeah.
Thank goodness that this city didn't tear down in urban renewal every building like Niagara Falls, New York did.
Wow.
Or other cities.
Mm-hmm.
It has an ambience, and to see the smaller businesses, that's what people are looking for when they travel. I mean, they want to have an experience in the community and feel like they've experienced and understand the community that they're visiting. And there's no better way to do that than by having these kind of shops here, what they're looking for, and long needed a gateway going into the peninsula, that they're looking to do on 8th Street. I think that when that's developed, there are going to be people saying, we should have done this 20 years ago.
Yeah, right.
But, I mean, I think those are things I'm looking forward to in my retirement, watch as those grow and that becomes a great product for us.
Yeah, after the Bayfront gets completed, the highway, I could see where the dock being really filled in. Where McAllister got
Yes.
torn down, and I mean, there's just so much more potential here.
And well, the CRIZ is going
CRIZ
to
is the
provide a whole lot of incentive for developers to seriously look at building down here.
Amazing. Give a shout out to the average Joe loves Erie. How could they be a great partner in hospitality for visitors? What would you ask Joe Working Man here in Erie to do?
Take the opportunity to become a tourist in your own backyard. Go out and take a look. I mean, go out to wine country and wander through Waldameer, and if you live on the west side, go to the east side and see what's there, and vice versa, and be positive. When you run into visitors, we have winters here, but who removes snow better than Erie?
Right.
I mean,
It's true.
we need to be positive, and we need to look forward to what we're going to have, and invite your friends and family and relatives to come to Erie.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah. If you're living in the suburbs, come on downtown, catch a ball game, catch an Otters game, go to the Playhouse. If you're on the west side, go to the New York Lunch on East Avenue. I mean, you think about the things like you're talking about. There's still restaurants that I have not been to.
Right.
Julio's at the Manicore,
right?
Places like that, just new experiences and things.
Yeah, get out and experience, and I think you'll start to see how far Erie's come.
Yeah.
From what you might have thought.
So are you just gonna, watch Judge Judy all day in your retirement? And
well, no, I think I'll be a little more active than that.
You'll be around?
Yes, Erie's my home. I've been here 24 years. And people say, where's home? Erie's home, and it always will be. I won't lie. I may spend some time down in Florida in the winter, but, Erie will be my home.
Beautiful. We appreciate all of the kindness that you've shown our show here, John.
Well, thank you for giving me and others the opportunity to be able to spend this kind of time to converse with you. It's been unbelievable pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, John Oliver. Again, he's still got a few more months with us, but retiring at the end of 2025 from Visit Erie. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.